The story opens aboard a derelict alien vessel drifting near the edge of known space, far beyond normal trade lanes or patrol routes. The ship, once part of a prestigious Galactic Coalition exploratory fleet, is now barely holding together. Its power systems flicker. Life support is on the brink of failure and most of its communication relays are dead. The mood is grim, the silence broken only by the occasional creak of stressed metal or the ragged breathing of the few survivors left. Our main narrator, Vectress Soluun, a Zendari scientist, chronicles their descent into despair. Once proud, to be part of a multi-species research mission meant to foster cooperation and innovation, Vectress is now gaunt, exhausted, and haunted. The Coalition's supposed unity fractured the moment their expedition ran into disaster, a freak gravitational anomaly that tore apart part of their fleet and left the survivors stranded. In the chaos, their allies promised rescue. Signals were sent. Emergency protocols initiated, then nothing. Days turned to weeks. One by one, the survivors succumbed, some to wounds, others to despair. A proud warrior from the Krytek species committed ritual self-termination when it became clear no help was coming. Food was rationed. The medical bay, unpowered, became a morgue. The ship floated further into obscurity. Vectress reflects on the betrayal with a quiet, simmering bitterness. The Galactic Coalition they served so loyally deemed them expendable. Politics and bureaucracy took precedence over lives. Worse, the incident had likely been quietly buried. Their lives were a loose end, one more piece of debris in the vast uncaring void. Only a handful remain. Among them is Drelek Kor, a battle-scarred Varnathi soldier with a shattered leg and an unshakable glare. He distrusts Vectress's optimism and has long stopped believing anyone is coming. Their conversations are clipped and tense, shaped by cultural misunderstandings and trauma. But the tension hides mutual respect born of survival. As the ship's remaining systems fail, Vectress makes a final, desperate attempt to launch one last distress beacon. Using a jury-rigged transmitter and siphoning power from the ship's dwindling battery reserves, he sends a simple message. Survivors aboard Coalition vessel Naravex 4. Systems failing. Immediate assistance required. Coordinates attached. No reply, just static. He stares at the console, numb. This was their last chance. Vectress begins to accept the end. He imagines future travelers stumbling across their corpse-filled hulk, wondering what happened, and moves to make a final log entry. He tries to write something noble, something poetic to mark their end, but only bitterness comes out. Then, without warning, his console flickers. A foreign signal pings, not Coalition, not any known empire or syndicate. It's human. The voice is crackly, filtered through interference and distance, but clear enough to make every survivor freeze. This is Captain Marin Dace of the human vessel Solace Dawn. We received your signal. We're on our way. The silence breaks. Vectress stares at the console in disbelief. After all this time, someone answered. The moment the human signal reaches the derelict vessel, everything changes. For days, weeks, the survivors have only heard the low hum of failing systems and the soft echoes of death. But now, a new sound crackles across the communication panel. A woman's voice. Confident, calm, unmistakably human. This is Captain Marin Dace of the human vessel Solace Dawn. We received your signal. Hang on, we're coming. Vectress Soluun is frozen in disbelief. Across the room, Drelek Kor's one good eye narrows. With suspicion. Others, only 3 now, gather, dazed as if emerging from a dream. A dozen species had ignored their cries for help. Now, from the unlikeliest of places, comes a voice not of their vaunted Galactic Coalition, but of Earth. A world most of them know only from stereotype and rumor. Immediately, questions arise. Why would humans come when the others didn't? Why would Earth risk a long-range response mission in lawless space for strangers of little political value? Drelek voices the suspicion outright. There's a cost to everything. What do they want from us? Vectress doesn't have an answer. His instinct says this isn't a trap, but instinct hasn't served him well lately. The group debates whether to even respond. One survivor argues they should wait, verify authenticity. Another says they're too weak to be choosy. Ultimately, Vectress sends a cautious acknowledgement back. The human reply is quick, efficient. The Solace Dawn is en route, using a shortcut, through an ion storm that no sane vessel would attempt, confirming one thing. These humans are either reckless or incredibly determined. As hours pass, Vectress pores over what little data he has on Earth and its fleets. Humanity isn't known for power or advanced technology. Their planet only joined the galactic community a few decades ago, and they're still considered a fringe presence. Technically competent, socially unpredictable, emotionally volatile. And yet, here they are, risking their ship to reach a dying alien crew that everyone else abandoned. Drelek paces restlessly despite his injuries. His distrust burns hotter the closer the human ship gets. They want something, he mutters. Rescue ships don't fly blind into hostile space for no return. Not even ours, especially not Earth's. But there's a different tension now, one not born of hopelessness, but fragile hope. The remaining survivors clean the blood-stained floors. They check their uniforms. They want to be seen with dignity. For the first time in weeks, they prepare to be seen at all. Then the lights flicker, not from failure, but from an external energy source. The Solace Dawn has arrived. The ship docks with a slow, deliberate precision. A faint shudder runs through the hull as airlocks align. The AI on their own vessel, silent for days, registers. A new connection. Foreign vessel docked. Oxygen levels stable. Life forms detected. Everyone holds their breath. A hiss echoes through the corridor as the airlock seal disengages. Footsteps echo down the metal hall. Captain Marin Dace steps aboard, flanked by her crew. She surveys the wreckage without flinching, meets the eyes of every survivor and says, "No one dies on my watch. Let's get you home." Vectress feels something alien bloom in his chest, something he thought he'd buried. Hope. The arrival of the Solace Dawn transforms the once hopeless wreck of the Coalition vessel. Within minutes of boarding, Captain Marin Dace's crew begins emergency triage. Their actions are swift, precise. Not the hesitance of scavengers or opportunists, but the steady resolve of trained rescuers. Portable med drones whir to life, scanning survivors and stabilizing wounds. Emergency lighting rigs are deployed, pushing back the gloom. Warm nutrient packs are handed out, small gestures that feel monumental after weeks of starvation. Vectress Soluun watches in silence, stunned by the contrast. These humans had no obligation to be here. The Coalition abandoned them, claiming logistical impossibility. But here was a vessel from an Earth system few took seriously, fighting through ion storms and uncharted regions just to reach them. Still, not everyone sees the gesture. As selfless, Drelek Core, suspicious and proud, eyes the humans with open distrust. When two crew members attempt to move him to the medical bay, he refuses. Captain Dace, recognizing the tension, approaches herself. She kneels beside Drelek, not as a commander, but as a fellow soldier, and speaks quietly. "You don't have to trust me, but I'm not leaving anyone behind. Not today, not ever." Her tone isn't pitying. It's not even diplomatic. It's a promise. Reluctantly, Drelek allows himself to be helped. But later, when alone with Vectress, he growls, "Don't confuse mercy with weakness. They want something. No species does this for nothing." Vectress doesn't respond. He doesn't know why the humans came. Maybe it was strategic, maybe propaganda. But when he looked into Marin Dace's eyes, he didn't see politics. He saw someone who'd bled before. Meanwhile, deeper into the wreckage, Solace Dawn's AI, Emis, interfaces with the derelict ship's decaying systems. Emis, though purely digital, has an almost eerie intuition. Its voice is cold, emotionless, but its actions are considerate. It diverts oxygen to where the survivors sleep. It plays soft music, an old Earth lullaby, through the ship's fractured comms to calm frightened children. To the survivors, it feels like the ship itself is comforting them. Amid the quiet recovery, a new alert suddenly blares. Unidentified vessel approaching. No IFF. High energy signature. Captain Dace reacts instantly, calling her crew back to the Solace Dawn. She informs the survivors they're not alone anymore, and whoever's coming isn't answering hails. Vectress pulls the wreck's logs. His eyes, blood runs cold. The approaching ship is from the same coalition fleet that abandoned them weeks ago. It's not here for rescue. It's here to erase the evidence. Drelek snarls. They don't want us talking. The survivors look to the humans for guidance. Dace doesn't hesitate. She calmly instructs her crew to prepare for confrontation. Shields up, weapons charged. She turns to Vectress and Drelek and says, "You're not just passengers anymore. You're under our protection." No one in the room has ever heard such words from another species, especially not from a species considered irrelevant. Vectress realizes this mission was never about salvage. It was salvation. The tension aboard the Solace Dawn is palpable as the hostile vessel draws closer. The survivors, once numb with despair, now feel a very different fear, that their brief moment of salvation could be snatched away just as quickly. But the humans don't flinch. Captain Marin Dace stands at the helm of the command deck, her stance calm but firm, voice issuing crisp orders as her crew mobilizes. The Solace Dawn, though not a warship, is outfitted with more firepower than its civilian profile would suggest. Just enough to make someone think twice, as Dace puts it. Vectress Soluan watches from a secured observation bay with the other survivors. His alien mind struggles to understand these humans. They're not the most technologically advanced. They lack the psychic coordination of the Deliari or the hyperdrives of the Krytek. But there's a heat to them, an intensity, a refusal to back down even when outmatched. He sees it in their eyes. Not arrogance, but resolve. The incoming vessel sends a warning transmission, a thinly veiled threat dressed as protocol. "This is Coalition Vessel Vernalis. You are interfering in a classified containment situation. Cease all unauthorized recovery operations and vacate the zone." The Coalition calls it a containment. Vectress knows what it really is. A cleanup. "Captain," Dace responds with a single message. "Negative. Your containment includes living beings under our care. You want them, you'll have to go through us." The channel goes silent. Seconds later, the Vernalis activates its weapon systems. The Solace Dawn is smaller, faster, but outgunned. And yet, when the first barrage fires, the humans don't flee, they fight. The ensuing battle is a masterclass in human ingenuity. The Solace Dawn darts and weaves, using debris fields for cover and manipulating the electromagnetic haze of the ion storm to distort enemy targeting. EMIS, the ship's AI, hacks into nearby asteroid telemetry to create false echoes. Every crew member works in seamless tandem, like a symphony of defiance. It isn't raw power that keeps them in the fight. It's creativity, improvisation, grit. Vectress, watching it unfold, begins to understand. Other species treat space combat like chess, structured, predictable. Humans treat it like guerrilla warfare in the void. They adapt. They dare. They bleed if they must, but they never stop moving. Drelek Kor, despite his injury, grins for the first time in weeks. "They're insane," he growls. "Beautifully insane." The Solace Dawn takes damage, but not without trading blows. One of its plasma torpedoes pierces the Vernalis' side. A cheer erupts from the human crew, followed by grim determination as they ready for the next wave. Vectress realizes something profound. The humans didn't come because they were ordered. They came because they couldn't not come, because something in their nature compels them to stand between harm and hope. The Coalition had tried to erase a mistake, but now that mistake had witnesses, and those witnesses were under the protection of a species with fire in their veins, and no intention of backing down. The tide was turning, and for the first time in galactic memory, the so-called lesser species, humanity, was the one setting the terms. Though the Solace Dawn sustains significant damage, Captain Dace refuses to abandon the field. Her crew begins emergency patchwork repairs, jury-rigging power conduits and rerouting coolant lines to keep propulsion and shields online. The survivors, still stunned by the outcome, offer their assistance where they can. For the first time, they are not just victims. They are participants in their own salvation. But Dace knows the reprieve is temporary. The Virnalis will return, or, worse, they'll send reinforcements. Time is running out. While systems are stabilized, EMIS uncovers fragments of encrypted coalition transmissions stored within the derelict ship's black box. With Vectress's help, the humans begin to decipher the data, and what they discover is damning. The abandonment wasn't a miscommunication. It wasn't a supply failure. It was an order, a deliberate command from high-ranking coalition officials. Do not engage. Let the vessel and its passengers be lost. Too much political heat. Risk of scandal. Leave no record. To the coalition, these lives were liabilities. Disposable. Captain Dace reviews the logs, her face tight with quiet fury. She doesn't rage. She doesn't shout. But everyone on the bridge can feel the shift, the cold, righteous fire behind her eyes. They didn't just leave you to die, she says. They made sure no one would come. She turns to Vectress, handing him a copy of the decrypted logs. This isn't just your story anymore. It's proof. Vectress realizes the weight of it. With this evidence, he could ignite a political storm, not just over the abandonment, but over the culture that allowed it. The cold machinery of a coalition that valued appearance over lives, but it would make enemies. Powerful ones. Drelek, overhearing, offers a rare moment of candor. This is why they fear humans, he says. You don't just save people. You expose the rot while it's still breathing. As they prepare for departure, Dace offers every survivor a choice. Resettle on a neutral world under Earth's protection, or return to coalition space and testify. Each must decide what survival means, quiet peace or defiant justice. Vectress chooses the latter. Before undocking, the Solace Dawn leaves a beacon where the wreck once drifted. But it's not a distress signal, it's a message. Broadcast in every known galactic language, the signal transmits footage of the Solace Dawn's arrival, the Coalition's betrayal, and a simple final statement from Captain Dace. Humanity came when no one else would. And if you ever wonder where we stand, remember this day. The beacon pulses steadily beneath the ruined stars, a lighthouse in the ashes. Across the galaxy, smugglers, mercenaries, and fringe worlds intercept the message. Some laugh. Others grow silent. The Coalition, meanwhile, scrambles to control the narrative, but the seed has been planted. Humanity isn't just another species anymore. There's something different, something dangerous, something watching. And to the ones who abandoned, the helpless in the dark, this was no longer a secret buried in wreckage. This was a warning wrapped in fire. The Solace Dawn limps into the nearest neutral port, its hull scorched and systems barely holding together. But the moment its transponder is recognized and the survivors disembark, the entire station stirs. News of the battle and the message beacon has already begun to spread. And more importantly, so has the footage. Within hours, the story hits every major communication stream. Coalition abandons its own. Human ship saves dozens. The galactic public, often numbed by the bureaucracy and hypocrisy of the ruling powers, is riveted. The raw, unfiltered images from the beacon are impossible to deny. Starving survivors, the disabled wreck drifting alone, the Coalition warship threatening them, and the Solace Dawn standing between death and those deemed disposable. What shocks the galaxy most, however, is not just that the Coalition abandoned people. That's a scandal, yes, but scandals pass. What doesn't pass is what humanity did. They fought for strangers. They disobeyed galactic hierarchy. They protected the forgotten with their blood and steel, without benefit, without recognition, and without hesitation. For Vectress Soluan, now standing before a tribunal of neutral delegates, the weight of that choice becomes real. He delivers his testimony not as a broken survivor, but as a man transformed by humanity's defiance and by their unwillingness to let morality be dictated by politics. When the lights went out, we thought we had been forgotten. We were wrong. Humanity remembered. The evidence from the Solace Dawn's logs is undeniable. Even the most loyal coalition delegates can't spin the order to abandon the ship. Internal investigations are launched. Officials are recalled. The coalition stumbles into damage control, but the damage has already spread, not to their systems, but to their reputation. Meanwhile, across frontier worlds, whispers grow louder. Captains begin to ask where the humans are stationed. Independent. Outposts hang banners in Terran Standard as silent thanks. Civilians with no connection to Earth repeat one line over and over again. Humanity arrived. For the crew of the Solace Dawn, their mission is technically over, but everything has changed. Drelek Kor, once bitter and distrustful, stands beside Marin Dace as she's honored by the Virelin Free Concord for unprecedented interstellar humanitarian valor. He doesn't say much, but when asked why a warrior like him would speak on humanity's behalf, he answers simply, because they were the only ones who did what we all should have. As for Captain Marin Dace, she returns to Earth without fanfare. There are no parades, no medals. She resumes duty, files her after-action report, and quietly prepares her ship for the next mission. Because to her, heroism isn't an event, it's a habit. Back on the neutral station, a young child who survived the wreck asks Vectress a question. Are the humans coming back if someone else is in trouble? Vectress kneels, remembering the first moment he saw the Solace Dawn emerge from the void. Engines blazing, weapons cold, arms open. He smiles. They never left. The stars, once indifferent, have taken notice. And in the silence between systems, in the places where the powerful still scheme and the helpless are forgotten, one new truth echoes louder than ever. Humanity arrived, and the galaxy will never forget it.